Hello, welcome to the show. I'm Chris, Fractal Chris. Well, Fractal Chris is my artist name where I create fractals, and I'm going to be publishing some music soon too. And all right, so introduce yourselves, guys.
I'm Geometric James.
Nice. .com. .org.
I'm Matt. I don't get anything else. Like Cher, all I need is one word.
Except for Hector Macho Camacho.
It's my pen name.
I saw an old picture of Randy Macho Man Savage, like literally when he was probably like 16 or something. It didn't even look like him. But
you know what he was before a wrestler?
What?
He was a minor league baseball player. I think he was a catcher.
Wow.
He was very, very good.
Was that the Slim Jim guy?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Step into a Slim Jim.
Yeah.
Step into the Slim Jim.
He also stars in the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. He's the wrestler, Bonesaw, something or other. He's gigantic. He's so jacked up. He's huge, super swole.
Wow. All right. So, one of the topics we're going to talk about today is just talking about the government and pretty much how everything the government touches, it ruins, and it's so many things are interconnected, and then we have a few other topics we're going to talk about. Like, I actually have a link to a post I want to show. It's about protecting your privacy, and switching to like avoiding the big tech platforms and using smaller like free speech platforms. So there's a big list of what to use and not to use. So I want to go through that later, and a bunch of other stuff. But I don't know. So James, why don't you start us off with your U.S. government?
It's not mine. Well, I had this thought, and maybe it's original thought, maybe it's not. But I'm just thinking, see all the things happening. When has a government tried so hard to destroy itself? It destroys the currency because it wants the CDBCs. Okay, so we know what the aim is there, so they can have total control. They're pussifying the military with woke crap. And if you've seen, you can find it on YouTube, where you have a commercial from the U.S. military, you have a commercial from the Chinese military, and then you have one with the Russian military. And you can imagine with the Russian and the Chinese, where it's like macho, blow shit up. Okay, and then you get to the third commercial, and it's a female, fine, but it's a female, and she's talking about how wonderful it was to grow up with her two moms, and it's a cartoon. And that's a recruiting tool. So right. What country wants to defend itself? Which one wants to pull its pants down and wait? I mean, my gosh. So so you have the woke crap. You had destroying the dollar, destroying the nuclear family since the 60s. We could just go on and on and on. Everything we do is short-sighted and stupid.
Yeah, using oil reserves instead of allowing more drilling and more oil. The way we left Afghanistan was horrendous. The way they handled, obviously, COVID and the vaccines, everything is horrendous, like you said.
Bombing every single country. There's never been a country that's bombed as many countries as we do, and yet we're the land of the free. And, if you've seen that meme, if you don't accept democracy, we'll bring democracy to you via a B-52 with carpet bombing. So, I mean, just everything, bases in 700 different locations throughout the world. Everything we do is stupid and short-sighted, and it's beyond arrogance. It's just stupid. So my question was, has a country ever tried so hard, or at least a government, okay, people are not on board with us, at least I hope not, but has a government ever tried so hard to destroy itself in the history of the world? Maybe that's a easy one to answer, but I don't know the answer to that. I've never read history where, yeah, they did this, and there was the Roman Empire, but I don't think they actively tried to destroy themselves. They just got fat and lazy, and destroyed the currency, overextended themselves. You bring in all the androgynous transgender stuff. Yeah, that was a thing back then too. And there was actually a professor talking about that, Camille Paglia. You can find it on YouTube, where she talks about how androgyny and trans this and that has been a component of empires in decline throughout history. So, yeah, just has a country or government ever tried so hard to destroy itself?
Yeah, it's like it's just so corrupt and so like the one thing you can really feel these days is that these government officials stand up and they're preaching to the public as if they're like way better than the public and they're smarter and they're the ones who should have all the power to make decisions for the entire community. Like, it's just blatant authoritarianism, either with a capital A or a small a. But it's that attitude has just been ramping up as far as I can remember. That's one of my observations, and it doesn't make sense. It's so that to me that makes it clear that they're playing power games and money games. And they're just trying to direct things so they can get more take more freedoms away from people, and then take more money away from people. And that's just what they're doing. Like, so to answer your question, I don't know if there's ever been a country that's done that. I mean, in a way, in World War II, Germany overextended by a long shot, although they were hard to defeat. But if you really think about it, like, eventually they were going to lose, if the whole rest of the world comes against them, they were pretty much going to lose. So maybe that was stupid of Germany and Germany's leaders to try to go do that, because it pretty much was inevitable destruction. So they kind of did destroy their whole country and their whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Other than that, I can't think of any. Matt, excuse me, Macho Camacho, any thoughts?
Thank you. I would disagree a little bit in terms of I don't think the country's attempting to. I don't think the people in charge are trying to destroy the country. I think that's just a byproduct. You mentioned, the Roman Empire and its collapse, which is probably the most easily, able to be observed and reviewed and studied and checked against. And there are a lot of similarities to like where we are and where they were, and a lot of what led to their downfall. You see a lot of where we're doing similar things. So I don't think like the folks in charge are purposely trying to destroy the country. But you both hit the nail on the head in that their focus is not at all on anything other than their own enrichment. So the hubris that you speak about, Bob, of how they speak as if when they speak, we should all, bow down and say, oh Lord, our Savior Biden has spoken, and whisper into the mic about certain things. And so therefore it must be law, because they believe that. And since they believe that, if they should believe that they are, the exalted ones. So I don't think it's so much as they're trying to destroy anything. I think this is the natural evolution of success. You put people in charge who know nothing but the life of a politician or the exalted ones of society, if you will, again, to use that term. They are the folks who are special. So all they're interested in is in their own betterment and the continuation of what they've so far achieved. It's almost to a certain degree inescapable. They can't be blamed so much. It's like if you raise someone from a child up to become to eat human flesh, to be a cannibal. They don't think it's wrong. They're just so used to it. So by the time they're 30 or 40, you say, "Hey man, eating your neighbor Bob isn't really a good thing to do. In fact, it's frowned upon here." They're like, "Really? I had no idea." So a politician who's been involved in government and all the theatrics and corruption that occurs there, they don't know any different. So that's just normal life. He's not interested. Those folks, all pretty much politicians, are not interested in what's really the best for the average person. What they're excellent at is, talking crap that sounds good and is able to fool the average distracted, low intelligence or low information voter per se. But I don't think they're purposely trying to destroy the country. I think all they care about is their enrichment. And as a byproduct of that, you're going to see the collapse, just like you saw in Rome, just like you saw in any empire that had enormous success. Eventually, the success winds up destroying the idea of that empire. The people will be fine, right? I think if the government did collapse and that the U.S. dollar became meaningless and all these sort of hypothetical or scary sort of concepts, I don't think it would really change anything for the average person. We would still be who we are. It's just the political class, those in charge, that whole concept would change. And, America as it was and politicians as they were would probably change. I have no idea how, but I don't think in essence people would really change it much. We'd still be, farmers would probably still farm, and people who do it at manufacturers still manufacture. I don't really see as a culture, as a group, too much change. I just think the top would fall apart, and that's exactly what happened. Like when the Roman Empire collapsed, not like all the Romans just died. They just kind of evolved into whatever country absorbed them, or whatever nature, the barbarians in the western part of the Roman Empire, just they kind of absorbed and became what we have now, and that part of Europe, and the Eastern eventually evolved into what it has. So the American people wouldn't just disappear if this thing does collapse. They would just evolve into whatever the next thing is. So this is, I think, an inevitable conclusion. There's no way to avoid this sort of. I don't think this sort of thing. And this, again, goes back to the nature of a human being. Those in power get corrupted. Those in power want to do things to remain in power. And so if it's, if I got to, do crazy things that aren't the best for the country, but it continues to enrich my family, a la, the president and his family, and the enormous corruption that's occurring there that everyone seems to know about now, but is being, covered, and kind of squirreled away by the media and such. But that's natural. That's just the way it is. There's no way to avoid that. And that kind of, I don't want to go into too hard a tangent, but that kind of, explains why you both say that I'm the black pill of the group, because I see there's no way to reverse that process. There's no way to reverse the level of corruption now. You could put a Trump in there and he's like, I'm going to clean house because I'm a bazillionaire and I don't need any of this support from these people financially. But the corruption is so deep that he just got absorbed like the blob and just destroyed. So it doesn't matter. You said last week, I had $300 million. I'd go in and I'd clean house, and you get absorbed or removed. It's like a real bad infection. You're not going to fix it. You have to cut the whole infection out, or just say, all right, well, I don't know, let's just cut the arm off, or whatever the case is. There is no way to reverse it. There's no good person who can fix it. And
while Trump was clearing the swamp, they added, during his tenure, there was 50,000 executive agency employees added. That's not clearing the swamp. That's adding to the swamp. That's refilling the swamp. So the president's weak. They can't do that much anyway. So
I agree, Matt, with what your point about that the destruction is a byproduct of what the politicians and everyone else is doing. It's not their aim per se, but it's a byproduct, right? Yeah.
I was watching just earlier. I was watching because I'm nerdy that way. A YouTube video of Berlin in 1945. It was in color, so it really brought it to life. And you had the British troops, you had the Russian troops, all taking care of their sectors, and it was just people going about their daily lives, doing bucket brigades, clearing out the rubble. Dudes just riding their bikes. The trolley was running. It's like la da 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 da, and everything collapsed on top, like you said, Matt. But these people were just, okay, let's go pick this shit up over here. Let's clean up over here. Let's ride the trolley. We got to live again. So,
and hopefully the free market spirit of America will kick in, and there won't be shortages of food and energy and everything that we need. because the shortages and stuff that would have a big effect on people. But
I think one slight difference, and I'm making a big assumption that people didn't see the collapse coming in previous civilizations as much as we do, because I think a lot of us see it. So we're already starting to rebuild before it blows up. At least that's what I'm trying to do. So starting to build, businesses and alternative forms of value transfer, you name it. Crypto is a tremendous asset. So we see it coming. We know the old system is just dead and kaput and corrupted beyond all measure. Let's just get started on a new one.
Right. So does this collapse ever bother you guys a lot? Like, does it ever really hit you in the heart? Like the fact that these globalists and everybody are just literally crushing the average person and stealing their money and freedoms. Does it ever really hit you hard?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, James.
Well, I got a real quick answer. It's like going through the grieving process. You got to go through the 5 steps of grief. And then you get to acceptance, and it's like, okay, that's how it is. Just time to move on. And that's where I'm trying to keep myself, and not, the Constitution, the founders, it was so great back then. Well, it really kind of started to decline right after they signed the paper, but it, now it's really speeding things up. But so just get to acceptance. I'm just trying to stay in acceptance and build, and just forget about what's happening.
Right. Hustle and build. Yeah.
Yep.
Did you see that? I think it was a Tim Pool video today. I think I was listening to him at one point. I know the lawn I was on and where I was mowing when I heard what I was. So I don't remember. I think it was Tim Pool, but he was talking about Biden when he was going over the ghost guns, right? He had his ghost gun, whatever crap, his speech crap. But at one point he said, and this is what was interesting, was that he said, believe it or not, I support the Second Amendment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He continued on. Right. But the point was, how in any way should that not be the actual norm? As the President of the United States, you are sworn into office to uphold the Constitution. How can you have the slightest, question of any of the, of any of the facts of that, commandment, if you will, if you're going to, take on the role of the supreme protector, which is what in essence the president is. It's just astonishing for him to say, well, believe it or not, I actually do like that amendment. I like the 3rd or the 5th or the 7th. I'm not really a big fan of those, but so I'm going to try to get rid of those. But just the nerve, I think it zipped over a lot of people's heads that wait a minute, how was that ever in question? Of course you're supposed to support that. If you don't support that, what the hell are you doing in this position? You're the guy who's supposed to be in charge of the country that is run by this set of rules. How for a second could you, was there ever a second's doubt or hesitation? If that's the case, how did you get in charge? How did you put your hand on like a Bible and say, yes, I support all this stuff? So either you lied then or you're lying now. But again, that just, I feel like zipped over a lot of people's heads. Be like, oh man.
Yeah.
He doesn't believe in it. He's just a lost old man, just rambling. Okay. He has no concept of respecting any of the constitutional, Bill of Rights. He has no, they walk on them every single day. Every single day. There's just no, I'm surprised when they even bring it up. It's, constitutional. Well, you don't respect it 99% of the time. Well, the only time they bring it up is when it suits them, for their purposes. They don't respect any of it. None. It's just a toilet paper to them. That's
one example is today I read that the apparently, you guys probably already knew this, but apparently the CDC is now saying that they're going to extend the mask mandate for airline flights until like May 3rd or something. And this article, right under the guy who tweeted it was like, the CDC has no jurisdiction to make that claim or give that order or nothing. They don't have that power. And there's so much of that going on where like these government officials, they just do stuff and they can't do it, but they do it anyway. And then we end up having to fight them in court for a year and a half, and then they lose. But by then, all these mindless woke idiots already bought into it, and then we have to fight those people if you want to get into it.
Yeah, it's not just the mindless woke idiots. It's most people. They just go, "Oh, CDC has spoken."
Right.
You know, and yeah, it goes on for a year before you know those illegal orders, unconstitutional orders, have a life of their own. They're pronounced from the pulpit. Everybody goes, okay. And then all the lawyers on the constitutional side get involved suing, and then like you said, like a year later, oh, by the way, that's unconstitutional. And then the press has moved on to, you know, the next 17 different crises coming up. So
yeah.
So the question then that you know, a reasonable person might ask is, so why does this happen? Why do folks like just agree or believe with what they're told from, you know, supposed government, you know, agencies or officials, et cetera? And you know, that's something that I have, maybe because it's my personality or what, or other people should have a little bit more of this questioning nature, I think, or this defiance towards authority, because there's this absurd idea that you have to have this
government schools,
incredible reverence for the government, for the president, for the CDC. It's they say it and you're supposed to just, oh my gosh, it's just the way it is, almost to a certain degree, like back in the Middle Ages, when the king spoke or when the nobles spoke, what they said, it was law, or they were so much smarter and better. And maybe back then that was the case, because the average peasant, if they could read, was amazing. And the nobles and the people in charge were getting more educated. But the average person now, well, hell, 95% of the population is 10 times smarter than our current president. But the average citizen is just as, if not more, informed as those now in charge. So giving them this unrestricted reverence and respect is silly. At least in my opinion, I would prefer if more people were a bit more defiant, saying, okay, why? So you said that. Where's the proof? Don't, and if you when you question them, they speak in circles, and it frustrates me when I see, like, press conferences or when the media don't follow up with a challenging question. Like if the CDC says this ass backwards statement that makes no sense, or any politician says something absolutely ridiculous, I wish I was in there so I could be like, hey, how about this? And I'm not going to stop saying it until you answer my question, or you're going to have to remove me. And then I'm going to fight you and probably knock out half of these people before you tase me and get me out of here. I mean, that's, this is the black pill side of me saying that there's no there's no real solution outside of a word that starts with V and has the first couple letters of violin and ends in a word that sounds like fence. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, that's a funny word too, because, what Elon Musk said about a year ago, like the government basically has a monopoly on violence.
Sure
that was Elon Musk quote. And so it's, yeah.
The government can't do anything without a threat of violence. Nothing. They can't get you to pay your library book fine, get your license plate, not speed, whatever, because all of them end up with you getting thrown in a cage. Mm-hmm. Everything is done with a threat of violence. Nothing, because how many people would voluntarily do most of the things government wants you to do? Stupid building codes, all this crap. I don't want to do it. It's stupid. It costs me money. I don't want to do it.
If you believed in something, you'd support it. If you believed in it, right? If you had faith in that this institution or this idea or this requirement was beneficial, productive, efficient, effective, and actually legit, you might say, hey, I don't mind giving, $25 to this project because I know it's actually going to work. And that's sort of, I guess, the idea behind the making taxes voluntary, right? If people wanted to pay taxes, make it voluntary.
They are
folks say, oh my
voluntary.
gosh, no one would pay at all. No one would ever pay.
They are
but a lot of folks
voluntary.
probably would.
Go look at the IRS website. The commissioner, whatever, the czar, whatever the hell his name is, head of each new guy puts out a little speech about the IRS. They always say it's voluntary. They do. They say it's voluntary. And we don't have to go down that road because it actually is not, you don't have to, but we don't need to go down that road. But yeah, they say it's voluntary. So,
wow.
and what the principle you're bumping up against there is good ideas don't require force. They don't require force. You just, hey, that's a good idea. I'll contribute to that. Hey, I'll pay to get that road put in my neighborhood because that's a good idea. Like my neighborhood is a voluntary HOA. And we all pay, it's all dirt roads, and we all pay to maintain those dirt roads. And I want good dirt roads, so I'm willing to pay for that. $450 a year, I'll do it. It's not a problem. So nobody needs to beat me over the head for that.
Right. Yeah, that's a great distinction. Yeah, so much news, so many, this whole Elon Musk thing. And so I was going to follow up with a question I forgot. So, James, you said that you're focused on building, the collapse is happening as we speak. And at some point, the head is going to be chopped off of the corpse. And then something, there's going to be a new government or something, right? Whatever. But in the meantime, you said you're building and stuff. And that's where this post that I found a while ago is really interesting because it goes over a bunch of different platforms that you can use instead of the big tech platform. So let me go ahead and make this a lot bigger.
Cool.
And I got into this right after January 6th, and then right when Amazon pulled the plug on the Parler app, and I was like, dude, this is absolutely ridiculous. These big tech companies who have so much power, if they start just willy-nilly doing whatever they want, just getting rid of people, banning companies, like that's horrible. So I started looking into it. So here, it's a Protect Your Privacy is the name of the account on minds.com. And so in the social media category, you guys can see that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Minds, Gab, Parler, CloudHub, MeWe, whatever, those are good. And the bad ones are Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Reddit, Discord, and Pinterest. Very interesting. Mm-hmm. And then you got video media. So BitChute is good, Library, Rumble, and Odyssey, but YouTube and Vimeo and Twitch are not good because, again, they're big tech owned. And by the way, I just want to be clear we're showing this on the screen. Like, I still have a YouTube account, right? And I still have a Twitter account. Even this show has a YouTube channel, but the only reason I'm using these big tech media is to basically bash big tech media and bash everything and try to get people moved over to the new media. That's the only reason I'm there. Like, I'm not planning on building businesses there. Even this show, if you're watching this show on YouTube, watch us on Odyssey instead. Please go over to Odyssey, get a free account,
earn crypto.
Watch us there.
Yeah.
So messaging, Signal's good, Telegram, Matrix, and Element are good. The bad ones are Facebook Messenger, Google, Android, SMS, WhatsApp, and Skype. Email, Proton Mail, I switched over. It took me like 6 or 8 months. I switched all my Gmail accounts, basically. I abandoned all my Gmail accounts and switched everything over to Proton Mail, and it's really awesome. I like it a lot. So Gmail's bad, Outlook and iCloud are not good. Meaning, you know what I mean. I already said it. So Search, DuckDuckGo, and SwissCows. Don't use Google, Bing, or Yahoo.
You have to update that a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, this is a year old. You're right. DuckDuckGo, they caved.
It's amazing how things change. Startpage.com is a good one.
Okay, startpage.com.
Or Brave, yeah.
Right. Brave has a search. It's not just a browser. They have a search engine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So online retail, you got Overstock and of course local mom and pop shops. So don't use Amazon, Walmart, or Target. Although again, I still have to order an item here or there from Amazon.
Right.
Okay. Oh, here's browsers: DuckDuckGo, Dissenter, Brave, or Tor. And don't use Chrome, Edge, or Firefox, or Opera. Anyway, I just thought this would be interesting. So I will leave. Sorry, where the heck is my screen share? So I'm going to leave a link to that in the show notes. By the way, there's a link to a bunch of links in the show notes, by the way. So what do you guys feel about that? Like I said, I went on to Proton Mail, and I think it's one of the best things I ever did.
Yeah, I've been on there since 2016 when I first heard about it. So, yeah,
Nice.
It's great. I love it. That's something I will pay for.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys think about the with Elon Musk buying a percentage of Twitter and then turning down the board so he could potentially buy more, and people are saying, oh, he could wind up taking over the country, who knows? But the interesting response from the media saying, oh my gosh, if Elon Musk takes control of Twitter, it'll be like horrible for free speech. It's the most like oxymoronic and like bizarro world statement, right? Like, oh, the guy who says let people talk, if he takes over and lets people talk, it's going to destroy free speech. Like it's like super clown world, right? Is that, you guys think the same?
Yeah, well, James Lindsay talks about the iron law of woke projection. It's a law. It's a universal law. When the extreme left or the woke people or the propagandists, whenever they accuse you of something, that means, and it's a completely false allegation, that means they're doing it. So when they accuse right-wingers or Trump supporters of being racist, they're doing that because they're racist. It's funny when you start looking at news and this kind of thing through that lens, it's true every time. They just project it.
Well, and that's a perfect segue into this quote from Thomas Sowell, a conservative economist. When you want to help people, you tell them the truth. When you want to help yourself, you tell them what they want to hear. So that's what politicians do all day long, so they can control you. And I saw, just like we're talking the truth here, I saw an article from, I think it was probably not 10 months ago, from Barron's, the financial newspaper, and it said, inflation ain't happening, and it's not going to happen. 10 months ago, whatever it was. It's like, you couldn't foresee, and everybody, have y'all seen that graph from when the federal stimulus bills all went out from all the COVID? The inflation just, where's my fingers?
Yeah, it's
inflation, hard. It was a straight up line.
Right.
As soon as those stimulus bills passed by the Democratic controlled House, as soon as they were passed, inflation just went straight up like a rocket. Yeah. Straight up like a rocket, while saying, I don't know how this happened.
Yeah. I love that meme. It first says inflation is not real.
Yeah.
There is no inflation happening. Then the next thing it says, oh, inflation it's not that bad. It's transitory.
Yeah.
Then the next one is inflation's actually good.
Right.
Yes.
And now it's inflation is because of Putin.
Yeah.
Well, and they say it's going to be here. Just get used to it. It's like, thanks.
Oh,
thanks.
God.
Yeah, you can see how they broke it to us softly.
Yeah. Well, I guess
they always start off. Yeah,
I read an article today that apparently the White House verbal diarrhea representative Psaki said that it's not only Putin's fault that we have inflation, but it's also Texas Governor Greg Abbott's fault. Inflation is partly due to him stopping trucks at the border and inspecting them to make sure that they're not carrying illegals or drugs or anything that shouldn't be crossing. She said that's unnecessary and a waste of time, and it's causing delays. So inflation is definitely part his fault.
Wow.
I don't know what people believe like this stuff. Like what I can't for the life of me people with an IQ that's higher than 16 fall for this. I don't know many who actually do, because I don't talk to people about it, because I probably want to put them in a freezer afterwards. So, but you guys might. I mean, do you come across people who are cool with this sort of thing?
I'm hopeful. Or optimistic. I think people are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. They're just like you said. They're low information. They're reading low information propaganda sources. They don't, and they went to government schools. Government schools tell you to sit down, shut up, be like Johnny over there.
Change your gender.
Yeah, change your gender. And if you're not quiet, we'll put you on Adderall. So, shut up and pay attention to your authority figure who has all the answers, and don't question her. So that's what everybody grows up with now these days. And it's way worse than when we were all in those government prisons. So, when you have a mentality like that, you don't go seeking other information. You don't have that critical thought angle.
I agree. Like people are just sort of brainwashed and they don't have the real information. But I also know of someone. It's basically a friend of a friend of a good friend, who literally is just completely brainwashed and will not even discuss certain topics. Like if you bring up something about, the Koof shot or something, booster, they just shut down the conversation. They're just like, no, we're not talking about that. And so that's the thing that closes them off, right? Like you could be stupid. I'm stupid. But as long as you're willing to talk and learn, at least a little bit willing, then there's like hope. But it's people who just completely shut off, and they literally think that, for instance, the Republicans or Trump supporters are literal Nazis and all white people are white supremacists. Like they literally believe that. And I think there's more of those people, and I think there are younger people, James, and I think that's why we don't know many of them, right? I think there's a lot of younger people that are like that. Although there are, and I've met them, there are a lot of younger people who think just like us, and they're like, this is absolutely retarded what's going on. So,
well, you see the conditioning. I see the conditioning when I see parents dropping off their kids to get on the school bus, or kids walking down the street. They're all wearing masks. That's conditioning. That's 100% on purpose. Adults are running around without any masks because we all know it's stupid. Or we don't have those, we don't have government force telling us we're going to throw us in a cage if we don't wear a mask. But, and all the kids are wearing masks on those buses when they're walking. They're so used to it. I see that the kids are wearing the mask while sitting in the car with their parents, while the parent is not wearing a mask. It's conditioning. It's 100% conditioning, getting them used to. It's even worse. It's getting worse and worse and worse. It's like, okay, you now will definitely do what we say, and you need the shot, and you need this, and you need that, or, and they got them stuck. And the reason why they shut off the conversation, like you were talking about, Chris, fear. It's 100% fear. They're scared that what they're hearing is not truthful, and they can't accept it. And they're stuck in their limbic system, just scared to death that the world's coming to get them. So, and we can't have any ideas that dissent from that, because then we're not safe. We have to stay safe with what government tells us to do. That's the truth. That's what they're not thinking. They're not thinking. They're incapable of thought.
Do you guys listen to Dave Cullen at all? Computing Forever.
No, who's that?
Dave Cullen, Computing Forever. He got kicked off of all the main channels. Great, really smart guy from Ireland. But he had put a video up today. He talked about compliance, three different compliance experiments, to mass compliance. And so he went over it. And one of them was a really interesting experiment. It was a real experiment. They had a woman go into a doctor's office, and so there was, I think, 8 people in the doctor's office with her. And so they're all in the waiting room. They're all in the waiting room, and at random times, a tone would go off, and everyone would stand up. They'd stand up, And then they sit down. And after, I think, 3 or 4 times, she wound up standing up with them. No one talked. No one asked, like, she just felt like, I guess I need to stand up, right? So every time the tone would go off, now she was standing up with the rest of them. And slowly, each person was being brought into the doctor's office, although it wasn't really a doctor. They were just leaving. So at the end, it was just her in a room by herself. The tone was going off. She was still standing up 3 or 4 times. And then another person comes in, another subject, so not a person involved in the experiment, and the tone goes off. She stands up, and after a couple of times now, he starts standing up with her, and it just kind of, I think that it was just amazing to see that, and that just ties in with the points you were making, James, that the conditioning of kids to wear masks, that's the norm, and that's what you're supposed to do, and the next generation of kids who don't have to wear masks will see their older siblings wearing masks and say, oh, maybe that's what I should be doing. I don't know why, but I mean, that's my older brother, or that's my neighbor's friend, or that's a hot chick that I want to get the attention of, so I'm just going to do that. So the next generation now just starts following this, without ever questioning, wondering why. But I guess that makes sense. And I don't know this, but you guys probably know. Apparently, Social Security numbers are a relatively recent concept. They weren't around forever. It was not something that was always the way it was. And I forget who was telling me, if it was someone, I think it was someone at the gym whose older fathers or uncles or some of the relatives who were older said they remember when the Social Security number was introduced, that now everyone's going to have a coding number. And the point was that the person now, whoever this person was telling me, I forget, I feel like it was someone at the gym was talking about it with me, but they were saying, oh, it's no big deal. Just get your information digitized. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. And this person's, past generational relative was saying, back then, you guys, everyone now has a Social Security number. You don't think anything about it. Oh, I know my number. You have your number. It's just the way it is. It's like in a way you were born into bondage 20, 30 years ago when I guess the Social Security numbers were introduced. People are like, what the hell? What do you need to track me for? I'm not a piece of cattle. I'm not a piece of data. You don't need this number. But 5, 6, 7 generations later, it's just, no big deal. Oh, it's just, yeah, of course I have a Social Security. In fact, if I don't have a Social Security number, is something wrong with me? Am I in trouble? Am I not as good as you? It's that concept of being born into bondage or being used to that conditioning. It's really an awful thing when you think about it. Awful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're going with, and this is a whole other discussion for another time, but Colorado, for example, they're promoting their digital driver's license. It's rolling out now or very soon. And of course, that's going to be part of the vaccine,
social credit score,
your daily bug allotment. Everything's going to be rolled in there. It is. Come on.
Yeah.
And that's what drives me crazy is that you see all these things happening and it's like, duh, come on. What's the logical conclusion of this? Digital driver's license, duh. Where is this going? Duh. Just like anytime you read about some new exciting tech and the person usually poses the question, gee, if the military got a hold of this could be used for bad. I hope that never happens. And DARPA's been playing with it for 5 years.
Right.
Yeah.
When they say that, it's like, come on, please. If it can be used in an evil purpose by the government, it will. It's guaranteed, and it probably is already happening.
Right. All right, so let's get to what you guys want to do, our media picks of the week?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and by the way, I did watch Idiocracy, the movie Idiocracy. I think one of you guys suggested it, and that's a funny movie, man. That's so, it seems novel, like that. The idea of it, it's not like there's 20 movies like that. That's the first time I've seen any movie like that. It was really good.
It was like a Dumb and Dumber history lesson, kind of.
Yeah,
That's how I looked at it. It looks, and it's like this wasn't intended to be a roadmap. It was written by, I think it was written by Mike Judge, the guy that did Beavis and Butthead.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think he said before this wasn't intended to be a roadmap, but yeah,
exactly.
will wind up becoming one.
That's what's like pretty funny about it. That it's like you can watch the movie and you can really see how what happened in the movie is sort of happening in real life in different ways. But
yeah, you could easily include the storyline in there saying, yeah, women or men dressed in women's, swim uniform should be able to compete in women's sports. Everybody's like, oh God, that's so stupid.
Yes.
Yeah, here we are. Yeah.
Exactly. So real quick, before we get to our media suggestions, I just want to show this because, we all love crypto here. And this was announced at the Bitcoin 2022 conference, which was about a week ago. But Bitcoin may soon be accepted by McDonald's, Walmart via the Lightning Network. And here's all the other companies that might accept it as well. Macy's and Buffalo Wild Wings, Wendy's. Looks like a lot of food. Although Best Buy, Petco. Staples, Lowe's, Starbucks. Anyway, the reason I just wanted to show this because a lot of people I talk to crypto about, because it's not being used every day by everybody, they just don't understand crypto. And even one person I know recently asked me, they were trying to like shoot down the whole idea of crypto because they don't understand it. And when they were trying to shoot it down, one of the things they said was, well, what if all the power goes out? And it's like, true, good thought, good idea. But first of all, you can think about the most tragic scenario in any area of anything. What if the power goes out now? Or what if we don't find any oil in the ground? Or you know what I mean? Like you can always just throw out the worst scenario ever. And yeah, that's bad. That would be very bad. But that's not a valid excuse. It's like that's the black swan event, right? That that everything would be affected by.
Right.
92% of the world's money is already electronic in the current system. 92%. What if the power goes out? Well, your freaking debit card or your credit card is not going to work either. What's your point?
Exactly. All right, so every week we do our media picks, just a movie or a book or something that each of us has thought was interesting over the past week. I want to go last this week, so you want to go, James?
Sure, and I can't remember. Can you read that guy's name? I can never remember how to pronounce it.
Grayson Nekrutman?
Yeah. He is
Grayson Nekrutman. We'll put the link in the show notes below, but it's apparently a 19-year-old drummer.
Yeah, I discovered him, I discovered him like a couple of weeks ago, and my jaw just pretty much hit the ground when I was watching him. He's 19 years old, and you can see him playing along with Buddy Rich videos, just note for note, just perfect. And if you watch that Caravan, you watch that Caravan song, and then he does like about a 5-minute drum solo. It'd blow you away. He's 19 years old. He's a master already.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, he's incredible. So definitely watch him. Even if you're not a drummer, watch him. It's amazing.
Totally.
Yep.
Cool. What do you got, Hector Macho Camacho?
Well, I got two. Sticking on the theme of James, it just prompted me. I had something else, but we'll get rid of it. If you haven't seen that movie Whiplash, right, check out the movie Whiplash because it's about drummers and et cetera. But the point was that that guy was what we kind of grew up having as our sports coaches. So so we could that watching that film was like, oh yeah, this is normal. Yeah, this is we had a certain baseball coach who kind of went in that same direction of motivating style for sure.
Right.
So check that out. So you can get not so much for the film, but you get a better insight into 2/3 of the panel here that we're going. And just for a little bit more fun, check out Larry Tate office linebacker videos. If you haven't seen them, they're definitely a family classic.
No, it wasn't Larry Tate. It was. Hold on.
I looked him up. You tell me.
Oh, Really? Oh, you looked it up? I'll look it up now. So describe the video because you have to describe it.
Well, so he's a football player, and he works in an office setting, corporate office setting, and he's just sort of like the I guess team motivator, right? He makes sure that you follow the rules, and if you're supposed to recycle, you recycle your garbage as opposed to throwing it into the general trash. If you replace your coffee, if you use it all, you make sure you take lunch hour for the appropriate amount of time. Just a very heartwarming, positive, I would say compassionate fellow. And I think it's be great for any business. So definitely check it out. Was it Larry Tate or
no? Terry Tate.
Terry Tate. Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Terry Tate, the office linebacker. So he's actually a linebacker dressed up in his football uniform, and if someone does something wrong, he comes running and just you have to watch it. Literally, it's and it was a commercial, like what, for the Super Bowl or something.
Yeah, but then they turned it into basically almost like a film. It's like 5-minute long video.
Yeah, like a skit. It's one of the best things you'll ever see.
Yeah, fabulous.
It's Terry too good.
Tate.
Terry Tate.
I was just going to say that you mentioned Whiplash. I just read that today because I was reading about that drummer guy, and that song "Caravan," which what he plays is in that Whiplash movie. Mm-hmm. So it's all.
Yeah, and they referenced that drummer, Buddy Rich, I think, in the film, as he's the epitome of drumming.
Yep.
All right, so what I want to share is it's a website I went on to this past week, and I absolutely got my butt kicked in. Chess.com. Oh, yeah, baby. I love chess. I'm not that good, but I love watching chess. I love watching highlights, really. I love following the best chess players in the world, and I also have an account on chess.com. I actually pay for an account, even though I don't play that much. But the reason I do it is just to support chess.com because they're sort of like spreading the word about chess and, teaching kids chess. And like, if you're watching this and you're not familiar with chess and how valuable it is to learn and to study and to play, chess is, to me, it's one of those things in life where just by playing a game and trying to get better and thinking things through, you can actually become much more intelligent and wise in what you do because, there's different aspects of chess. First of all, there's strategy, right? You have to think about what you're going to do before you do it, which is something you have to do in life, right? There's tactics, little tricks and little things you can do. There's same thing with life. You have to have patience in chess because if you just push forward and try to do all crazy stuff, you're going to lose. And you have to also face reality, meaning in chess, sometimes you made a couple bad moves and now you're in a bad position. And now, you're in a bad position. So now you sort of have to regroup, maybe take a little while to fix up your situation so you're not that vulnerable anymore and then move forward. It's literally like life. And anyway, I love chess. So that was me gushing about chess. So.
Didn't you watch Magnus Carlsen live last year, a couple years ago?
Yeah, 2016 in New York City.
Was that long ago?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, the World Championship. I went for one day, and I got to go right up, kind of close to the board, but we were behind like this barrier, so the players couldn't see us, but it was cool to be there, and then the press conference was cool too. And what's funny about that press conference is Magnus came out. Magnus lost that game, by the way. Sergei Karyakin was his opponent, and Karyakin won. So Magnus came out and sat there waiting for the press conference, and he's waiting, and Karyakin didn't come out yet. And he's like, what's going on? And Magnus, because he lost and he was upset, he just got up in a huff and just left. And that's it. He didn't do the press conference, and they fined him a bunch of money for that because it's in his contract. He has to do it. But and then a little while later, Karyakin did come out and he talked. But chess at the highest level is absolutely fascinating.
Did you see? I'm sure you have. I mean, you probably told me the documentary on Magnus.
Yes.
That's what I would say. Someone should watch that because even if you know nothing about chess, that is such an extraordinary documentary.
Right. It's so fascinating. All right. Well, that's it. See, the way we end this, we're not good at ending this yet. But anyway, that's the end. So thanks for watching. If you want to like, if you want to subscribe, and I don't know what else you do on whatever platform you're watching on, but we're happy to have you here watching and hanging out with us. And of course, comment on the videos if you have questions, or if you want to suggest your media suggestion of the week. Well, what movie should we watch? What book should we read? What board game should we play? Anything. Let us know. Anyway, we're just having fun hanging out. James, tell people where they can find you.
JamesBreeding.com.
Link below. Macho Hector Camacho.
Strengthandhonorfitness.locals.com.
Yes, link below. Oh, yeah. That's it. You want to get your physical fitness together, which I do. I need to. Anyway, you can find me, Podcast Engineering School. I teach podcast production. So, all right. Well, thanks, everybody. Any last words, gentlemen? All right. We'll do a real ending this week. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next